of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, starting with approval of the agenda, there will be no closed session today. Brent told us there won't be one, don't need one. So that's off. Any other additions or corrections?
I was just told on the number 9 involving Mikan,
Yep.
that there is a second request in addition to that will be discussed at the time for possible approval.
Okay,
And I will email the department just before so they can come down and
okay,
speak to it.
all right.
Pulling that off of there?
That's gonna stay on, but there'll be an additional part of that will be up for consideration. That will be explained at the time.
For item number 9.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as that little change there?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approve previous board minutes from April 22nd. Any additions or corrections to those? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Public comment. Now's the time that anybody wants to come forward and speak to the board. This is the time to do that. Yes, come forward. State your name and where you're from.
Kent Wickham, I'm with My Energy Electric Cooperative. So, good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you today. I think I've sent you guys a lot of information through email and public comment, so I won't hash that out again. My Energy appreciates Houston County's approach to structuring decisions about commercial solar energy projects. My Energy is a proud member of the community. We value the chance to contribute to this process from the utilities perspective. I want to make a comment that neighboring Alameda County just amended their solar ordinance with a priority to also preserve farmland while allowing landowners opportunity to install commercial solar. In regard to commercial solar, putting a 40-acre cap on commercial systems, requiring X distance between commercial systems, and including a cap on total commercial acreage within the county are great solutions for allowing landowners the flexibility to lease their land and diversify their income without having a major impact on cropland in the county. From the utilities perspective, commercial solar project would help My Energy and the surrounding municipals get closer to Minnesota's 2040 carbon-free mandate, bring in tax revenue for the county and township, generate electricity locally, which would help with grid resiliency in the case of emergencies, and create additional margins for My Energy, which in turn will help us keep rates stable for our members in Houston County. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
You.
Anybody else? Yes, come forward.
Hi, good morning. My name is Beth Esser, and I'm with One Energy Renewables. We're working in partnership with My Energy. It's nice to see you all. Some of you I've seen before in December when I was here, and nice to see those that I haven't met before. We wanted to just be here to introduce ourselves and to, state that One Energy has previously worked with My Energy on projects in Fillmore and Winona counties, and we are honored to be able to hopefully continue that partnership with them in working on a project in Houston County. Our focus on projects has been to work with utilities to develop projects that tie into the local distribution grid, so it's locally produced power serving local members. Our projects are in the 10 to 40 acre size range. And we have experience with our projects being utilized for dual use purposes, meaning that they're being used for ag purposes while also producing solar energy. So we have, for example, apiaries on our projects with pollinator prairies where honey production has occurred, and we have several sites where sheep graze. The landowners we work with continue to farm around the projects and sign leases with us with the hope that these projects will return to farm use at the end of the solar project's life. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have as you work on this solar ordinance, and we appreciate your time as you work on it, and want to learn from Houston County what you hope to see in projects like this for your community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. Is there any questions on those? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I do have a question on number one. Is, John, have background checks been done on these people? So they have been, or it's the guardianship contracts, are they done after the board agrees to it or not?
I assume that it's done before we bring it to you. And I would make the assumption that it's done on an annual basis, but I'd have to verify. I don't know that for certain.
I got a phone call earlier and it was brought to my attention regarding this, and I think just wanna make sure that everything's in order.
Yeah. Good point.
So
You wanna wait on this one?
I would prefer to wait on
We
it.
can pull that off if you'd like.
Certainly.
I would prefer to wait on it.
I will find out specifically on this, but then also what our process is.
Appreciate that.
So, yeah, we do a lot of these, so I apologize, I don't know the exact sequence of when things are done.
No need to apologize, it was
Good
brought to
question.
my attention and we wanna make sure that we're doing
Due
right
diligence.
things here, our due diligence on what we're doing here.
All right,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Number one.
So number 1, we'll table for now.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with number 1 being removed?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
so move.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Moving on to action items. Number 1. Start with the biggest one first. Consider with contract with Olympic Builders to proceed with the airport T-hanger project. It's 300 pages, isn't it?
It's about that.
Can you read it to us?
320? You didn't print them all out, did you?
I read them all.
Double-sided.
Yeah.
I do have a copy of it all. Yeah, so this is the contract for Olympic Builders, so it has entire proposal within it. So since the project was bid out, we've collected a bunch of information from Olympic Builders, which includes all of their bonding and all the signed documents that's required for them to get to us. They would like to be able to order get going on getting the actual structure ordered and have Silas on. Silas has been talking to Olympic Builders and getting all the information gathered for us. So Silas, would you want to kind of talk about your correspondence with Olympic Builders and then update if you know anything from the FAA on the funding status?
Sure, thanks, Brian. Good morning, County Board. So kind of as we discussed, I think it was back in March, when the bid recommendation was made, what the discussion with Olympic Builders has been is award the construction contract to them so they can order the actual building for the T-hanger. As they've told us, that's about a 5 or 6 month process until the building is actually delivered, and that way the county is able to lock in the bid price. But the caveat there is that the county has yet to receive the FAA grant offers for the funding for the project. So it's anticipated that the county will receive the funding. It's just a matter of when it comes through. Houston County does have sufficient federal funding from the FAA to cover the entire cost of the project. And the grant application to the FAA, so that was submitted on April 2nd. And it usually takes, anywhere from 3 to 4 months for the grant offers to then be issued to the county, go through the approval process with the board and returned. So the grant funding, may not be locked in until, July or August. But what the discussion has been is to take advantage of the good bid price received from Olympic, award the contract to Olympic so they can order the building, knowing that it's just a matter of when the grant funding is issued from the FAA. So Olympic is ready to go to kind of move forward with the project, but they're just holding off until there's a contract in place between them and the county.
Yeah, so the FAA has asked for information, so I provided, I believe, 18 different signed documents for different grant applications, showing we have everything done and in order on the county side. Silas has been involved with that. We did get a payment schedule or a schedule from Olympic Builders on costs, so it looks like their down payment for the building is $98,000. When they go to fabricate stuff, they have a payment of $175,000 at that point, and actually that has some excavation in on that as well. So, so the initial cost when they get stuff in for that initial foundation design and the down payment on that building, you're looking at maybe $100,000. There shouldn't be any more money spent until around that time that we have that grant in hand, or prior to that. And like Silas said, this is all AIP and AIG funds, so this is our entitlement funds and some special funding dedicated just to Houston County or ones that we're borrowing from other airports. So it is, money that FAA has control over, but it is allotted to Houston County.
You're talking about the initial funds,
So the fund,
98,000 and the,
no, so just for the entire project, so that 95%.
so it's the whole thing you're saying.
For that 95% of that funding that we're asking for is all money that's dedicated for Houston County, with the exception of a little under 300,000 we're borrowing from other airports. So if we approve this today, if there is, if the FAA does not issue a grant to the county, we could potentially be on the hook, I would say, for the rectitude down payment. I haven't talked to our county attorney about that on, what that issue has for liability for us there, but there shouldn't be any other costs. But this is, pretty certain we're gonna get this funding. It's just when does that come to us? And all indications from the FAA is that it's coming. It's just gonna take some time.
So have you guys talked to the FAA on that, just to get an update?
Yeah, so I've been in communication with Sean Johnson, who's the FAA program manager. And the process goes, it goes from the local Minneapolis office, then it goes to the region in Chicago. And then it ultimately goes to, DC and then sent back to the Minneapolis office. So all the information is at the region in Chicago for review. Once they review it, it gets sent to DC. So the grant offer is moving forward through the system.
How about others? Has any funding been denied this year? Similar funding from FAA going through Chicago for a similar project? Do you know of any other funding that has been denied?
I am not aware of any other funds that have been denied from the FAA for airport improvement projects.
So this down payment, it's just a down payment. They're not gonna be buying materials and getting stuff ready to go here when the grant comes in, or what?
Yeah, so Silas, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the down payment is to get essentially on the production list, with, the company Erected Tube to essentially be on that list. We wanna build a building, so that down payment to get them on the list. There also is some foundation design that goes along with that building that they'll need to, get submittals and some reviews of the shop drawings.
So the $98,000 you're talking about that would need to go prior to even getting our grant is so you get the ball rolling and get the building ordered.
It is
structured
it is a cost to Olympic Builders, so typically, we're not gonna issue any payment until that building is actually manufactured and it is either on-site or maybe it's stored someplace locally where it's close to getting here. So we don't make that payment necessarily to them right away, but it's a payment, it's cost to the contractor that they start putting in there right now. So if we ultimately canceled this contract in a couple months, they could potentially come back at us and say, we incurred some costs, we wanna, recoup that expense. And then it's, a discussion between our attorney and their attorney and the manufacturer to see what that actual liability is to the county, so.
So it could be more than the 98,000.
But, well, there shouldn't be any more expenses that'll be incurred on this project other than that.
Okay.
Up until then. Now,
Once the grant come through, Silas, would that 98,000 be reimbursed or covered?
Yes.
yeah, and it's very common for the FAA grants to take 3-4 months or longer. Usually come through in July or August. So this time frame is not out of the ordinary. It's just that kind of they get their funding appropriated and get it released. It's usually in the midsummer.
So you mentioned that you sent them 18 items of information. Was that the usual request, or is that
Yeah, but
what was over and above what they were already getting?
no, it's the typical, they always keep adding additional forms that you wanted to sign, did you, follow the correct process? Do you have, different policies in place at the county that we have requirements? It's same stuff that's required for, it's a form, it's not necessarily FAA specific, but the FAA has their own forms. So, it's all policy related that we, make sure that we don't have people that are out there using drugs on the airport property, and, that we have, that we're following the federal laws as far as,
Basin out there.
DBE
Yeah,
stuff,
I've
and, so.
all that.
Yeah, so a lot of different forms, so, but it's nothing that's specific to this project, but they're asking for the information, so, they're gathering stuff to make sure that everything's moving forward, so.
So as far as you know, we're square with them for past history of funding? There was that little hiccup there that we didn't get, 50% of it? It's cause they found something back in the 60s or something that
Yeah, for
that they
the,
double paid for or whatever.
the past land history, that should all be taken care of, so this project at this point should be able to go forward and get that full 95% recouped from them later on.
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept the Olympic Builders project. Here's-
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? You guys wanna do a roll call on this one, or big deal? Do a roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes,
All right. Moving on to consider accepting MCIT's offer for the damaged plow truck.
Yes, so we have kind of these next 3 items kind of go hand in hand. The first item, so MCIT gave an offer of the value of the plow truck, $216,136. They would take out a $1,000 for the deductible that we would need to cover ourselves for that damage, and then there's a $35 title and transfer fee if we want to have MCIT keep the truck, where we essentially sign that truck over to MCIT. They take that truck, they have full ownership of it. The second offer is, their email said an offer of $198,442. That has a $23,000 salvage value of the plow truck, and then we would not transfer that title to them. So, with that option, that truck would be ours. We would take it, we could take parts off of it, we can kind of salvage, reuse stuff. We can't use that truck, fix it up, and use it as a salvage vehicle. We won't be able to get insurance on it through MCIT. So we won't have that, but we could potentially use some parts off of it. I have met with a mechanic up there that took a look at that truck and agreed that there's more than $23,000 worth of value on that. You have some of the tires could be salvaged and reused off of it, the box, the plow, the underbody, the different components that could be salvaged. So if you want to keep that truck, MCIT said $23,000. When I looked at their offer of $198,442, that is what they told us. The numbers don't quite add up to exactly like that. When I look at the numbers, I think that offer is maybe a little bit higher than what the actual check they will issue to us would be. If it's $23,000, take that off of appraised value of $126,136. And then you take out the deductible, that offer might be about $6,000 higher than my computations add up on that.
So they'll pay us $216, we pay them $23,000, and we get the box and everything back?
Yes.
Keep the truck.
Yeah, essentially, yep, they would give us, $216 minus our deductible, and then another $23,000 reduction from that would give us the truck back. We'd keep it, and
Get the whole truck, everything?
we would get everything. We would take everything out of it that we find valuable, and then we would look at selling the remainder for someone else to use it for their own parts if they have a need for the engine or something else that we don't have a use for at this time.
Option number 2 is to keep the box off that truck, right?
Yep, yeah, so for option number 2, which would be essentially, on that action item number 3 on the agenda, is to buy a new tandem axle cabin chassis, and then number 3 would be to potentially, we'd keep the box off the truck, we'd reuse the box, reuse the side wing, the underbody plow, possibly the sander and the conveyor that goes over to that, put on new hoses, new wiring, so we don't have electrical issues going down the road. We don't have hoses, busting because they're sitting there. So, so we would use that box. When we looked at it in the field, there was some discussion on, is that box tweaked or is it not? The box goes up and down just fine. You don't see issues when it raises and lowers. When it's sitting there looking at it in the yard, if it's bent, it's pretty minimal. You can't, really see it tip. So it's very, very close, if not perfectly straight. When it's sitting on a gravel lot that has a little bit of a tip to it, it's tough to see, but we do think that we can reuse that box.
So who's gonna do the work? If this were to go through, and so I'm looking at this, it's $158,000 plus the $10,898 in taxes for the new chassis, is that correct?
Yes.
Would the old truck go over to, the new trucking equipment, and they would strip the old truck?
We would probably have it hauled over to Towmaster and have Towmaster strip it over there. Cause that'd be the company that we would look at hiring to, put everything back on.
They
So-
take it off,
outfit.
take the old one off and put the new one on.
Yeah, to do all the upfit. Do you know what the charges would be for that?
Yep, so Towmaster gave us a quote of $102,000, so that's to remove
I missed that.
all the components off, to repair some of the damaged components, because the box does have some damage on the front corner, to reinstall the salvage components, and then there's a bunch of new parts that need to go on, the new joystick inside the cab, rewiring everything, all new hydraulic hoses, they need to reconfigure some other components on the truck. They would do all that stuff, you know, and the labor, everything included is $102,000. If we bought everything brand new, that cost from Towmaster, at their quote would be $217,366. So salvage and reuse components, they're estimating about $115,000 savings.
That's including labor for the.
That
remove
includes
and
labor,
replace.
yes.
Yeah, it looks like option 2 is the way to go. We get a new cab and chassis and then just remove the old box, which was only 2-3 years old. Put new parts on it and.
That was a 22, right?
21. So,
Just 4 years old.
Yeah.
I think that's the right way to
well,
go.
well, it,
Cost money wise, it is.
And then we can strip parts off the truck we need and then we could resell it on min bid, I assume, or whatever.
I should say it was a 21 model year truck, but it actually showed up in 22.
So, but our first action here is to consider MCIT's offer. So,
Yeah, so essentially we kind of have like two options. You know, we accept the offer where they keep the truck, or we accept the offer where we keep the buy it back as a salvage truck. And
Brian, what do you feel comfortable with?
I agree that I think the better option is probably to buy the truck back, where we keep it in reused components. You know, at that age of the truck, the box should still be in decent shape, at the end of a life cycle with a new truck. So, I've had some conversation with MnDOT as far as, you know, how long does these stainless steel boxes last? Because we do have some that are getting up there in age, but we haven't, went beyond 10, 12 years with the stainless steel boxes and stuff. I do feel that we can use this box on a new truck, we'd still be able to use it the full life of the truck. So I don't see any reason why we can't that way. The side wing, the underbody plows, all that other stuff, there shouldn't be any issues at all with those going longer than a typical plow truck life. So we can definitely salvage it and reuse some of these components.
A lot of tires on there too.
And the tires are, you know, they have some mileage on them, but they're not bad shape, so we can, use those as well.
So how is that
so
considered the
I think we should
MCIT's
consider
option B?
MCIT's offer for the damaged truck with the option of us buying it back.
With us buying
Yeah,
it. back.
kind of like option B,
Yep.
Option 2, you wanna go with,
option with buying it back. I'll make a motion to accept it with buying the truck back.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that, seems to make the most sense for the money.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I would just clarify, since we technically still own the truck, we have the title on it, so essentially the option where we just keep the truck instead of signing over the title.
Okay, not buy it back.
Yeah, we're not,
Not changing it.
we're just gonna deduct it off the,
Yes.
with that clarification. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. All right, number 3, consider accepting tandem axle truck from Nuss Truck Equipment in the amount of $158,517. There's tax on that, so it'll be a grand total of $169,415.24.
Yep, so this is, state bid price for the truck. They have, said they do anticipate that we would get that truck this year still. So they said they have, trucks, so we won't need to wait necessarily 2 years to get this truck like what we've been waiting on some of the past trucks. So they think they can get a really quick turnaround on this, so.
So technically, this truck could be on the road for this upcoming winter.
I would say we'll probably get the truck in, the early part of, say November, December, and then it's gonna take probably 3-4 months to get everything fitted over at Nest Truck. Hopefully we can get, or over at Towmaster, hopefully a little bit quicker. So if it's going in the winter, it'll be at the latter part of the winter.
I'll make a motion to Take Nest Trucking Equipment's bid of $169,415 with tax.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Number 4, consider accepting Towmaster's bid for the plow truck setup.
Yep, so, based on item number 2, that we keep the old truck, I would recommend that we go with Towmaster's quote of $102,000 even for where they will remove the components off the existing truck that's salvageable and reinstall it on the new truck. And then that would be with new wiring, new hydraulics, as I mentioned before, so.
Well, that should wear that truck right out, wouldn't it?
What's that?
That'll probably wear that truck out, the stuff that we put on it now, and by the time we get done with it.
Yeah.
kind of coincides with the 2 in front of it, so I'll make a motion for that.
We really can't not.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Yeah, I mean, we're talking a savings of $100,000 here, the way I figure it, so.
Sure.
I think it's a good move, so thank you for working on this, Brian.
Yep, you're welcome.
All those in favor?
I'm just praising the man.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Good work, Brian.
Number 5, consider approving Houston County license for Green Terraces Services. Winona. Amelia.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we had a new applicant for a hauler's license recently. As you read, it's Green Terrace Services. They've submitted all the required insurance documentation and have signed the agreement. So we just need the formal approval from you guys for that.
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right.
I can sit in on the next one too if you guys have any questions. I don't believe we have a rep from MDA here.
Okay, yeah. Number 6, consider approving a letter of support requested by MDA to the contractor Al's Aerial Spraying, who will be completing the treatment of spongy moth in Houston County.
So moved.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
One comment on that, is there any way, I know when they gave their presentation, they gave some good public information. I know once the application, they're gonna get a lot of calls on it. Are they gonna bump anything out for a media release on that?
Yes, I believe their plan is to do so. I know there's been a few things that have come recently because some of their funding got cut for a portion of the project. But I don't know if they have reached out to all of the adjacent impacted landowner or I shouldn't say impacted, landowners within the tracts that they're treating. But that was their plan at one point. And then as well as media releases.
Help to get the word out a little bit. save
I know they send out postcards or notices in the mail.
Yeah, it seems like they go into their own files, and then people still call.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Too much junk in.
And they had attempted to meet with Money Creek. I don't know if they actually went to a meeting or not.
Okay, great. You're on it.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second, I believe. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right,
Thanks.
Thanks, Amelia.
thank you. Number 7, looks like we're gonna table that one.
Yeah.
Luke isn't here. We'll table number 7. Number 8, consider approving a 2-month disaster abatement, November and December of 2024 for Traditions in the Crescent that burned down. Isn't here for that either.
So what do we do now?
It's just a typical, like we did for H&R calculation. Calculate the taxes and then you allocate what 2 months of that would be. They still pay on the land, but the structure that's gone.
Okay, well, I get that. I just have a problem. We already tabled one, so now we're gonna act on the other two here? I mean,
These are disaster abatements rather than assessment.
okay, so that's different, okay,
Tax. They are different.
Oh,
Alright.
It's definitely different.
okay.
Different statutes. The first one probably needs explanation on, the first one needs explanation of the three probably, not this last two.
Well, the first one says tax abatement, second one says disaster abatement, so we should be.
All right,
I'll make a motion to accept that, number 8.
motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Number 9, consider approving a 2-month disaster abatement, November and December of 2023 for Beeson.
Beeson Street.
Beeson Street, REH LLC, Mikan, that's the old Mikan that burned down in October of 23.
This is the one where there's an additional comment, so.
Okay. Lee, you want to come up and explain that for us, please?
I'm here on behalf of Luke and Joe. And with me is Pete Griffith with Mike and Rawlings. And the line item on 9 doesn't really need any further explanation. It's a disaster abatement for November, December of 2023, but it was the intention of Luke and Joe to have an additional line item included for all of 2024 disaster abatement as well for the building that burned, because the building has not been rebuilt at this point. And similar to what Carol was saying, they still pay taxes on the land, it's just the building.
Okay.
Can that be added in there?
It's just modified to 2023 and 2024 both.
Both years,
Yep, November and December of 23 and all of 2024.
all of 24. All right. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion for that.
Second.
Any further discussion?
How many dollars are we talking on something like that?
Carol, can you speak to that?
I have it.
Do you have it? Pete has that.
It's pretty hard to tax something that's not there, especially when it's not their fault.
So it's 1 year plus 2 months.
So it's 14 months.
Yep.
$19,896 for 2024.
Is that just the building, Pete, or is that the land and building together?
That's land and building together, yeah.
Okay.
But the
So there-
building
you would
is-
still be taxed for the land, just not the
The
building.
building is,
Yep, that was gone, so.
So 20. Or 2 years. 14 months.
I still stick with my motion.
Yeah.
they have
Me too.
poured, foundations being poured right now for the new building, so.
Yeah, they're working hard up there.
It in is, they really want that logistics center going up is.
Well, thank you for rebuilding. That's good.
Yeah,
I do appreciate
Yeah.
that.
exactly.
Very nice.
And it will be it'll be a significantly bigger building when completed, so.
Cool.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed, same sign. All right. Number 10, consider accepting a grant through the University of Minnesota for one Lucas unit. Brian.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
One of my objectives as sheriff was make sure the deputies had enough equipment for, basic life support and also extra training. And I'm happy to say that we found a grant through the University of Minnesota that offered, rural Minnesota law enforcement agencies up to 50, Lucas chest compression machines. And we were awarded one of the chest compression machines. They're portable machines, so they're smaller than the ambulance services have. I can't tell you which model they have. They haven't told me that yet. They're quite expensive units. So we're planning on having a deputy per rotation, have that in their squad car with them. So I'm just looking for your approval to accept the grant.
I'll make a motion to approval for accepting that grant and good job.
Thank you.
Second?
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Number 11, consider accepting a donation of $25 in honor of Karen Eglin and a donation of $100 to the Veteran Services Office to use as any veterans needs. Is there a motion to accept? Is
Make a motion to accept that.
there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Nice to see donations there.
Yeah.
This-
Number 12, discussion and possible action to approve adjusting appointed department head job descriptions to state reporting to the county administrator. Brent,
Good morning, Commissioners.
morning.
So this is a follow-up from our previous conversation that we had. So part of kind of when I came into this is just to kind of clean up some administrative things within the job descriptions. As you added an interim county administrator, and I believe that's kind of the future goal is to go with that model. This is just adding the wording for the county administrator within the hierarchy of the department heads. You have, since our assessor was not here today, we're picking on him, so you have a copy of his job description with kind of just the, a possible wording. It's right on the front, on the top, basically the first line. It says reporting to the county administrator, the assessor is responsible for ensuring property appraisals and so on. So previously, before that, it was reporting to the Board of Commissioners, and we're just trying to add that county administrator into that function. So, our current interim county administrator, future county administrators can function and do what they need to do in their position.
So is this a draft of the job description, or is this?
This is the assessor's actual job description. And this is just a draft of what it looks like. So,
Okay.
Because
you've added that appointment too, or appointing.
So the official one right now is still reporting to the Board of Commissioners. This is just one that was kind of drafted up for look at.
So this is just an example.
That's just an example, yeah.
So like for this position, the assessor, which is appointed by the county board, does that make a difference?
It could, yeah, really, I think all department
This
heads
is a
are.
statute appointment that
Yeah.
we have to fulfill as a board.
It's just that they, on the day-to-day operation, they would just report. They would still have the ability to come to the board and do whatever they need to do as far as business goes, but they would just report to our interim administrator. It's just.
Day-to-day
So they don't have to worry,
operations.
well, if they
Yeah.
got something going on, they don't have to call the board members. They can go to our interim.
No, I get that. It's just, that it's a appointed position.
Sure.
It is, addressed, the work of the assessor is performed under broad policy guidance of the County Board of Commissioners, subject to provisions in state law. Each job description will have, if there needs to be that reference.
So we're not changing the appointment, we're still appointing, but the day-to-day supervision, so to speak, is being
Yeah.
done in-house, yeah.
To be quite honest with you, coming in our job descriptions, I'm not a huge fan of the template layout for them. And so I've gathered other job descriptions from other counties, how are you putting this together? And there's a lot of counties that really just don't have that wording in it. It doesn't necessarily report. I mean, really at the end of the day, everybody, all county employees are under the direction of the county board. And basically in the corner, it just says who your supervisor is that's gonna maintain your, making sure that you're filling out your timesheets and
Do the day-to-day stuff.
the day-to-day, and then also the yearly appraisals and stuff like that. So we're just kind of making that connection in there.
So what's your ask today? Is this for review, or are we going to, you do all these positions separately, or?
Yeah, so this is just kind of a review of what it would kind of visually look like. Obviously, each job description is gonna be a little bit different based on their different jobs. But just having that county administrator component into it, however wording you would like to have it. So we can have that base administratively in there, so for, future operation. Now, all of these will be appointed positions. This does not affect the elected positions. And right now, even the appointed positions that are in elected seats won't necessarily change until at some point the board decides whether or not they want to make that appointed or elected. Then those will just kind of gradually change as they go.
This request is a blanket, right? So this is not
Yep, appointed.
come to us every meeting and now we're gonna do this person, and we're gonna just make it blanket across.
Yeah, this is this authority just to make those changes, when they come.
It's kind of a
Really okay with it.
discussion with the board here a little bit. I know two of you weren't on there then. When we went with the interim county administrator, was when we were without, an HR person, et cetera. Weren't we gonna review our structure if we were gonna continue with that and look at recombining the positions, et cetera, down the road? So if we start changing all these job descriptions, wouldn't we be changing it again?
But we're not changing,
Change it.
what?
We did actually change the structure. We don't have a department head HR, it's under the administrator,
Right.
so it can all.
This isn't changing any job descriptions here. This is
Say that
just
they
changing
report to
the
the-
focus
I
of
understand.
who's
So we're
reporting.
not changing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This isn't changing any job descriptions.
No,
just-
I understand that totally. That's just so we're not changing it again.
Yeah.
Upon review of what you're talking about, yeah.
We'll take this all home and look it over and then we can.
So what if it was just say reporting to the county administrator under the direction of the county board?
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely put something like that, and, and we've had that conversation, that there are different, possibilities or options for that. That is a possibility under the direction of the county board, but reporting to the county administrator is a possibility, an option. We could definitely add that wording in there. That's not a huge issue.
Isn't that kind of all personnel, though?
Yeah, we're all under the direction of the county board.
So
It's just
Yeah.
stating it.
Right.
So there's no confusion. Right.
And I think that one of the good things about this is to get everything very uniform, so we have, consistent wording on it.
Say that again?
I think it's important to have all the consistent wording on the job descriptions.
It's all good.
Yeah, and however you want that wording to be, would be across the board blanket for those department heads.
So you're looking for like,
I'm just looking for some guidance
direction
on-
to go
yep.
ahead, and so you don't have wasted work on doing all this, and we're not interested.
Yeah, so what wording you want in there, and then also,
Mm-hmm.
just the go-ahead that when that happens, we can just make those administrative changes.
You just said was good,
What
under the
you're wording is
direction.
fine here.
Yeah.
So reporting to the county administrator under the direction of the county board.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
It's clear.
Clearer?
you need a motion for that?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second, to go move ahead.
Any further direction, or any further discussion? Are you okay with this, Carol?
Your choice.
Listen to that.
Well, you're the interim administrator, so.
She probably,
Well, I just think we all work together well anyway, so.
Right.
yeah. I like the idea of the day-to-day reporting structure. I mean, if something's going on, it's very,
And really, like, outside, you know, it's kind of one of those conversations that it's kind of like, why is this here? Why are we having this conversation? But, you know, for like future, when we start talking about, yearly appraisals, like, you know, evaluations.
Yep.
You know, that's important for this to be in there, so that county administrator can do those evaluations on department heads, because at the end of the day, the board doesn't necessarily see everything that goes on every day, Monday through Friday.
hope not.
Yeah, and so just having that,
Mhm.
you know,
Yep.
because that's what your county administrator is
Yep.
to guide the county in the direction that you want it to go. So, that's just, we're just adding that in there for, like I said, for an administrative thing, so we can have our processes set for the future.
All right,
Good stuff.
Okay?
Sounds good.
so motion's been made and seconded. No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you for working on that.
Thank you, Brent. Number 13, consider approving juvenile detention center contract with Mauer and Goodhue counties and authorize the signature of the board chair.
They look
Right.
good.
So in October, you approved the template for the juvenile contracts. We actually have two, Goodhue and Mower County. But those contracts were never actually approved by the board because you requested that each one of them be approved by the board. So I printed the contracts that have been signed by those two counties, and were reviewed by Sam. And his signature is on them. So the county board actually just needs to approve each one of those. So we have them.
And Eric's signature.
Yeah, my signature's already on there.
Oh, boy.
I didn't sign it, though.
No, it's not. It's gone.
Is it? Well, it was in the packet one there.
I'll make a motion to approve those contracts.
Can we do each one separate?
I'll make a motion to approve Mower County's contract.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the Goodhue contract.
I'll
I'll
second.
Go ahead, you second
I'll
it.
second it.
Motion made and seconded for Goodhue County contract. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Great.
All right, now it's official,
And you have the contracts there to actually sign and date.
and I will sign them
Then it
personally.
will be official.
Sign them personally. And I do have the contract there for the archive Vanguard.
Yep, I see that. Okay, that's the next one here.
No, actually, you did that on
We
the
already did
consent
that already.
agenda
Consent
because
agenda.
that's,
Yep, okay.
it's in
Alrighty.
conjunction with our other contract with Vanguard, providing archival of prior years so that we can access them.
Okay.
Any questions on the payments?
Yeah. Approval of payments, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further,
Just to point that you did get the email that the one payment was gonna be $200 higher because they sent a
Yep.
revised.
Right. Thank you. Mhm.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Discussion items, administrator updates. Carol, you have anything?
Just that I'm working on those, policies, our procurement policy and our, disposal of equipment policy because it came up during the audit. So, working on those, we'll, probably take a look, all the policies are fairly old. So we'll, take a look to see if anything else needs to be updated.
Okay.
And, abatements, additions, creating new property tax statements for different places that I'll have a summary of that. Our utility line values that were certified in October weren't updated for the power companies, so we did have some abatements to process. New parcels were added that hadn't been added into our system, so it offsets it. I think the net is actually $37,000 in abatements that grant. I'll give you a summary of those when we get them all worked out.
Okay. So you had to have some new statements too, or redo some statements?
Yeah,
How many?
probably 25.
Okay.
I just create them myself.
Okay. Nothing like Winona County, they had to do a whole bunch.
No. No, that was an interesting
Yeah.
series of events.
Hundreds?
Yeah, they were all wrong in the Lewiston Altura School District.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Huh. Yeah, whoops, that's right.
Yeah, we haven't had anything like that for
A what?
a long time. We never really had the, whole taxing district tax statements, but the one year the tax statements didn't get in, or they didn't get mailed in time with the valuation notices for the meeting dates. So the Board of Adjustment, or local boards of review had to be moved. Had to send out little postcards, because they have to have them certain 10 days prior to the first meeting.
So that's coming up in June, right? We already have that date set.
I believe so. It's on the valuation notices, so.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Carol, is there a different date for the department head meeting? Because I think it's on Memorial Day,
Oh,
right? Or if you want to check that out and send us the, oh, okay.
It's me
want to
and,
do it Tuesday or
or is it you?
the next Monday or?
Yeah, one person does two in a row, or everybody does
Yeah,
two.
because I think there's, well, then it would be the end of June, right? It's always the end of the month.
Oh, it was me and Eric,
It's supposed to be the 26th, so we could,
so now it's Gov and Cindy.
What are you guys talking about?
The department head meeting and two in a row.
Rotation.
Trying to figure out who the rotation was.
Oh.
Cause she was discussing that it's
Yeah.
on,
yeah, it's supposed to be the 26th of this month, so
that's a
we can-
holiday.
maybe we can look at calendars. Yeah, it's Memorial Day, so.
The Monday before.
So it'll be me and you, Cindy, this time, correct?
Yes, so the 19th of May. Makes, if that's good with all the department heads.
Okay, moving on to board updates. Cindy, Kurt, and I attended the clean sweep here on the 28th of April in Houston. And we had over 150 people attended. Filled 11 flex bins of paint and 5 barrels of ag chemicals and just over 4,000 light bulbs. So it was a big day, busy day. Real busy in the morning. We had long lines, but all in all, it went pretty good. So thank you, Amelia, for that.
It's good.
Thank you guys for helping out.
I can't wait to do it again next year.
Yeah, you were really good at directing traffic, Kurt. You've done that before.
Well, then,
Once. I was so nervous.
then he trained me, so I could take over.
I did I do a good job?
I don't
Didn't
know.
get run over, so you must
Yeah,
have
I'm
been.
here.
Nobody got hurt. We were good.
No injuries, we're good. Except that, well, the ambulance was having an open house then, so we were pretty safe.
Yeah, it was busy at the community.
Yeah, if something would happen, I felt really good about the response.
Yeah, it was, they were right there to be there.
Yeah.
They had their fundraiser. Yeah.
That's good.
So that went on. This Thursday's Farm Safety Day coming up. So that starts at 9 o'clock, I believe. Just for a notice for everybody. All the fourth graders will be there from surrounding schools.
That's at the fairgrounds.
Fairgrounds, yep.
And then the fifth graders will be out at Blueberry Dairy doing something out there. We're cooking for them at the same time.
Yeah, that's the same day, correct?
Same day, same time, and we're doing.
For the fifth graders, they were doing a farm visit or whatever.
We're doing their hamburgers at 9:30, and then we're doing farm safety at 11.
Cool.
You'll be busy.
Be there a couple hours.
Exciting month for school kids.
Yep,
Busy, very busy.
good weather to be out. And
Fine.
I need to be out there too, so. I don't think I have anything else. So Cindy, you have anything?
Let's see. Lots of meetings within the last month. As usual, we didn't have our last week meeting, so that was kind of a reprieve for the fifth Tuesday in a row. I did have some good feedback going to the La Crescent Council meeting. They discussed, Luke and staff were there to talk about taxes, so we discussed taxes on the community or local level from La Crescent, and then it's good to see that process and then how it moves forward to the county board eventually, if they want to. So that's about it.
Yeah, they've been out to the townships too and met with all them.
Yeah. Good process this time of year. And it's also, a lot of times people aren't, they have questions, so they aren't really aware of what's going on with state and local tax and how that affects our annual taxes.
Well, it's something that we should encourage taxpayers in the county to do because I know like in Houston Township, taxpayer constituent came there to express something wasn't right with hers and they got to looking at it and they said, oh yeah, something's not right there. So she went back in later up here and found out there was an error and they got it fixed, so. It's good to go to that and make sure everything's right.
And I'd also like to work on, I think we've talked about this before, just a very informal recognition of what's going on in the county offices at our board, whether it's in the notes or however we want to do that, but just somebody does something like the clean sweep, that's kind of definitely a department doing, just to recognize people for doing that. It doesn't have to be major awards or anything like that, but just kind of at least a monthly recognition of what's going on in the departments.
Acknowledgement.
Yep, exactly.
Commissioner Zender, you have anything?
Just clean sweep, and then I went to the Caledonia Township board meeting the other night. I was up at Main Springs. Very informational, interesting meeting on solar. Took a lot of notes.
Okay. Good.
You good?
Anything else?
I got nothing.
Commissioner Schultz?
Oh, we had department head last week. Most of the departments were there and nothing too drastically out of order, but everyone staying plenty busy. I went down to, or got invited to the grand opening of the new kayak launch that was done in La Crescent there on Blue Lake.
Oh, La Crescent, okay.
Right where the old Food Bonanza was, so it's kind of right on the
Okay.
township city line there, but a very nice addition that they have there. Should be well used. On the same topic of DNR, I got invited to go, and I'm gonna go Thursday night, to sit in on their grant and aid, studies for the snowmobile club. They used to meet as a group, all the different clubs in Rochester with the DNR for their audit review. They're doing it individually with each club now and gonna be talking on their mileage and that, so. Just to be involved, so I said I would go along with it, so.
It'd be good to go to that just to
Yeah,
find
so
out
it'll
what's
be
going on.
interesting. And then I got flooded, I don't know if it's just people talking or whatnot on some traffic, issues in the,
Me too.
so I must have a pool line going, and I told them all to call the sheriff's office and report it, but we've been having a lot of traffic problems in the La Crescent Township, Pine Creek and County 6. Speeding motorcycles, and if something don't happen, something bad's gonna happen, so,
Construction, but which is actually in town.
right?
Residential housing construction is very close to the county highway.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
topic.
You heard about that
I've
too.
gotten a call on that one too. But that's a city deal, so.
Yeah.
Right. All I got.
So the meeting with the snowmobile clubs individually, that's quite a few snowmobile clubs, ain't it, in the southeast region?
They each have a, hour time slot. And they
Oh.
said they're very specific on their time to be there, so we're gonna carpool up together.
So,
Where's it gonna be?
Rochester.
It's in Roch.
They used to do it as a group meeting.
you know, I'm not gonna tell them how to run their show, but wouldn't it be better if they talked to them all at once, so you'd be all on the same page instead of one-on-one? What's the deal? I don't understand.
My understanding, they used to do it that way, and
Yeah.
this is who they're doing, so more to come, I guess.
Okay. Commissioner Myrie,
All the county ones there at the same, on the same,
I believe it's all of Houston County, Fillmore County, they all have different time slots, and they used to have a
Each
group.
club does, Bob,
South-
or?
Southeast
each club
region.
does?
Wow, that's a lot, yeah.
that's gonna be more than one day, obviously.
Yeah, they had several meeting days.
We got 3 clubs in town or in county or 4?
We got 4, I believe, don't we?
Spring Grove, Caledonia, La Crescent, Oka,
Money
or
Creek.
Houston, Money Creek.
Yeah, they had to sign up on a
Okay.
survey,
We got 4.
online survey thing on which slot they wanted, because they wanted to make sure that we were all making.
Okay.
That'll be interesting.
All I got.
All right. Commissioner Myrie,
Well, we talked about it at our department head meeting about the Meyer building a little bit, all the troubles we're having there. We were looking into maybe we should sell the Meyer building and lease the Able building. That has a lot of room. And if we have any COVIDs or any kind of vaccine clinics we gotta held, that Meyer building ain't big enough. It's too small, so. That would be, that way we'd have that back on the tax roll. We could put our extension, our veterans, and public health could all go out there. We could maybe incorporate a daycare down the road. It's a good place to start.
Big building.
Just an idea that we tossed around. And John was gonna check in about leasing it. Maybe we can't, maybe we can.
Haven't reached out to Lee yet.
Okay. I mean, it's an idea. I mean, the Meyer building's never gonna be big enough the way it looks to me, because we're always expanding. We gotta have more here, more there, so I mean, we're in a small building, if we could sell it and get, a couple $100,000 for it or something, or whatever we can get. Put it back on the tax roll and maybe we could work out a deal with Able down the road.
Might be worth exploring.
Well, I'd like to go look at it to
Options,
see
yeah.
if there's some room out there, if that's possible. I mean,
Or
I've been in-
5-year-old building, so I
I've been
mean,
in that building.
big.
I think it's if it would be feasible, it's a great idea. I mean, it's kind of set up with, I mean, it would work. I mean, it really would.
Yeah.
It's a nice,
is it currently for sale?
it is.
What do they want for it?
1.8 million.
1.8 million.
I just saw it on the,
There you go.
Possible, yeah, his checkbook. Possible leap.
it was just an idea for
Options.
you guys to think
Yeah,
about.
if they
That's-
can't sell it.
That is not a terrible idea. It really isn't.
What, to sell that one and to buy that one?
Say we
I
could
didn't
lease
say nothing
it.
about buying, but if we could lease it,
Yeah, check out lease options.
Yeah, lease
was
is option to
possible.
buy or something.
I mean, it's really set up nice out there. We have to go tour it, obviously, but it would fit the bill and then some.
Good idea.
Well, I think we should go look
Check it
at
out.
the building if we can.
The thing is, if it's,
I agree.
So next steps, John is gonna
the thing is if it's sold, then.
check things out.
That'd be kind of exciting.
Yeah, I can reach out to Lee, see where he's at with sale or whatever, and see if they're all open to leasing. And then if you guys want to look at it, I can try and arrange that. But I'll first reach out to him, he's the executive director, and see where they're at.
Good
Be
idea.
also good to get like operational costs of that building.
And it's more efficient than what we got.
Bet. Probably is.
Well, what we got is paid for. If we're gonna lease some, that's gonna be more of another expense that we're gonna have.
Consideration.
Well, we can sell the Meyer building and then we'd have that tax money coming back if somebody buys that too, so I mean, it's,
Yeah. Well, it's smaller, so it might be better.
I mean,
I mean, this is so preliminary, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of options to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
Good talk.
Anything else, Greg?
yeah, I see we're gonna have a public hearing on the solar. Should we, maybe at workshop, put some kind of a plan together so we have something to give out that night to show people? Or are we just gonna go there at 6:30 and argue and talk about everything for 2, 3 hours, 4 hours? Or are we gonna come in with a kind of a game plan? I'd like to have Rick Frank come in and help us amend this solar thing so we can get the solar figured out the way we want it. And then we can present it at the public hearing.
It needs to go to the planning commission first, right?
That's what you're referring to is the public hearing at the planning commission?
Yeah, we need to get something to put in front of them so they have something that they can discuss, you know?
I believe Amelia's got a draft proposal to bring forward to look at.
There will be a draft ready by next week for you guys to review, and then it'll go to the planning commission.
Yeah. Well, otherwise it would be the opposite direction if it comes from us and goes to the planning commission. We don't work that way with the planning commission, right?
And it's just gonna be a preliminary draft, it's not,
It's
final
not,
recommendation.
yeah, it's not gonna be a recommendation on the ordinance, it's just a review of the draft.
Correct.
I have talked to Amelia a little bit about this. I wanna make sure we do this right. Because this is long-term. And I, for one, am not gonna be pushed into or rushed into anything until I know we have it right. So I'm just making that very aware to people that I don't care if there's been a 6 months moratorium. I'm not necessarily believing that 6 months was enough. I wasn't here to start with this. There's a lot that goes into all this and a lot of changes that are possibly going to be made. And I'm not gonna make a hasty decision for 10 people. I wanna make a proper decision for the people that I represent,
That's the way I
which
look
is
at it.
essentially all of us, Houston County.
I just wanna make it done right, get all the facts, do it right.
I agree with that.
The
get
time
it.
will-
And I don't think
We're
it
gonna
would
do
hurt.
something, we gotta get it done right, so.
Well, and it should be comprehensive, not by the request of one project. That's not how we
I
make
agree.
decisions.
This
So,
isn't a base by base, this is a
For all,
Countywide.
for all counties.
anything that would
Yep,
come up.
yep, for any projects or whatever, yep. And we'll have that discussion at our planning commission and review of that and to decide where to go from there.
That's fair.
Anything else?
No, I'm done. I was just asking, I mean, we've gotta get a game plan. I mean, we're going into putting on, making an ordinance, we gotta make sure we do it right.
Yep, agreed.
And we don't wanna make, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we just wanna make sure everybody can fit into the program.
Right?
Anything else?
No.
Okay, closing public comment. Anybody like to make a closing public comment? 10:14, we're done.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, everybody.
Everybody's